We're on the road today because I have a whole host of projects that I need to finish, and all of them are inside, thankfully, because it has been raining non-stop for about 3 days. And the soybean fields around me have turned into little temporary lakes. I need to go to the hardware store and the feed store. So let's get going. So at the hardware store, we have to pick up the stuff to build another brooder. So it'll be our third brooder, because over the next several weeks we have a rather absurd amount of poultry coming, and that's not even the end of it. Next week we have our first crop of meat birds arriving. The week after that we have 15 laying hens arriving, and the week after that we have another 15 ducks arriving. So the brooder space that I have right now is inadequate, and I'm not comfortable putting any of them into the little infirmary brooder that I used for my Orpingtons way back in Houston, and that I use for, small batches now. So we pick up a sheet of plywood, which is a small fortune these days, and a new brooder plate, which have also gone up in price. We also need to pick up some bedding, so I can just get them all set up and ready to go. Additionally, I have to pick up some deck screws because my beehives arrived, and I need to put them together before the 10th, because the bees are going to get here between the 10th and the 20th, and I need to be ready for them. So I need to get some screws and wood glue. It's going to be a busy day. So I've run all my errands. We got our plywood for our brooder, we got our new brooder plate, we got our bedding, we got some glue, and we got some new brad nails, because you can never have too many brad nails, and some clamps. Before I get started on all my work, I wanted to go check for eggs and check on everybody. It is a really, really wet and nasty day. This mud is getting intense. My poor waterlogged chickens have all taken refuge inside, and it's a little crowded. The ducks, on the other hand, are splashing around in the mud puddles. I think they're all rather cranky. You guys okay? The rain will stop eventually. Oh, poor Omelette. Look at you. You're so waterlogged and soaked. The ducks, on the other hand, just do not care. They're called waterfowl for a reason. I have to say, I am less of a duck and more of a chicken when it comes to rain. So this is how I made my brooders last year, and I was really, wow, my hair, this is what happens when it rains on you. It does all sorts of weird stuff. This is how I made my brooders last year. Jack from the Mindful Homestead has a really, really great and more thorough tutorial on how to do it. It just essentially involves cutting little slots in the edges of these plywood pieces that allow the brooders to sit together and create a square. And then you can break them down and store them flat, which is what I've been doing since the egg layers moved outside. They don't take up a lot of room, which I like. So, and they're inexpensive right now because I was actually able to get a piece of plywood for under $30. The fact that they're $30 still just blows my mind. Generally speaking though, I find it's better if I do 2 pieces at a time rather than all 4 because my circular saw gets unhappy. So you just kind of line them up. Almost like you're collating a stack of papers. So I measure 2 inches in and run my speed square to create a line. And I want this slit to be 1 foot long since the boards are 2 feet long. So we're gonna make a mark right here and where it ends. I love speed squares. They're so cool. They make this so easy. Last year I tried to do all 4 pieces at the same time. It didn't go well. The saw didn't like it. Go all the way through? We went all the way through? Fantastic. Wash, rinse, repeat. Admittedly, I have a great deal of respect for the humble circular saw. Saws kind of scare the crap out of me, but you gotta get through it. Now we're gonna take this chisel and knock out the excess wood. Last year I had 2 brooders, which worked out pretty well. This year we're going to have 3, and my strategy for brooding chickens has changed a little bit. Last year we tried to do 2 big batches at once at the same time, and we're still kind of doing that, but we are limiting the amount of chickens in a single brooder, which will in turn lessen the amount of chickens in a chicken tractor. Last year we did 35 to 40 chickens in a chicken tractor. This year we're dropping it to 25 to 35, 30 being the average, assuming everyone makes it through the shipping process. Hopefully this is the last year we're going to have to ship chickens. We theorize that we just like, it wasn't so much the question of the brooding, it was a question of the pasturing. The chickens seemed to be less stressed when they were in a smaller group on pasture. So we're gonna give it a shot. It also makes it a lot easier to get them to processing in our Honda. aren't perfect, but they get the job done. And like I said, they're really, really great at holding down nice and flat. You can tell the ducks were in this one last year because it's kind of stained. And one of the other things we really like about this is putting it on the tarp. Putting it on the tarp means that it's really easy to dispose of the bedding when you're done with the brooder. In my typical brooder setup, I like the pine shavings they sell at Tractor Supply that are not fine. They're shavings. They're less, the baby animals are less inclined to eat them than they are the fine ones. In my experience, I've used the fine ones in a pinch. I've used the aspen ones as well. They're way more expensive, but they do a good job. And I would rather use the more expensive aspen ones than use the fine shavings because, again, they're less inclined to eat them. I start with a couple inches thick. I want to make sure all the blue is covered. And yes, it's gonna get everywhere, and that's okay. It's a garage. But the reason I don't fill this all the way up from the get-go is because they're gonna start pooping pretty much immediately when you get them. And I use a baby chick deep litter method for managing my birds' manure. I just keep piling it on. And it works really well. I haven't had any issues. And then when they're all done, I come in here with a wheelbarrow, clean it out, reset for next group. And I was smart this time. I made sure that all I have to do to reset the brooder is, you notice the slots are going down, I just have to pull it up. And all of them are set up like this, so I just have to pull up the front panel and I can scoop things out into my wheelbarrow and take to the compost pile. When you have short little T-Rex arms like I do, you never underestimate the power of a handy tool. So because I'm setting up a third brooder when before I only had two, I had to go out and buy another brooder plate. I love brooder plates. I know there are a lot of people who are devotees to the old school red heat lamp, but they make me nervous. I've seen too many fires. I don't want to mess with that. This is HQ. I would be devastated to lose the baby birds, and I would be devastated to lose pretty much my livelihood. The little legs just snap on really simply. It's a really great design. Other companies make them. Brency makes them. My original one I got off of Amazon for like $40. I've been very happy with these. For food and water, I use just the standard chick feeder. I use it for water as well. I find that it works really well. I usually start with two, one for food, one for water. And as they get bigger, I may swap out to a 3 and 4, 2 and 2. But with the smaller batches, this is probably going to be sufficient because it has enough holes for everyone to get into. Another thing that I recommend that you have on hand for when your baby birds arrive is some sort of probiotic and electrolyte powder. I've not tried this one specifically. I've tried Rooster Booster in the past. Chick gel is supposed to be really good. But we'll give this a shot. We typically lose more babies in the mail than we do once they've arrived. And if we do lose any, it's usually in the first 12 hours after they get here. The shipping just kind of stresses them out, and this gives them a little bit of a kick in the right direction. And makes sure that they thrive once they arrive. Another thing that I think every chick toolkit needs is a hairdryer. You're always gonna end up with pasty butt. It's just unavoidable. And having a hairdryer allows you to dry your baby after you've subjected them to the indignity of having their butts cleaned. It prevents them from catching a chill. I'm gonna go through this process with the other two boxes. I'm gonna wipe down my brooder plates from last year with some crud cutter, just so they're nice and clean, even though they're gonna get messy again because the chicks really like to poop on them. So I have two things that I feed my baby birds, depending on what their purpose is and what their species is. For my meat birds, I use a start to finish meat bird feed. That's 22% protein. For my ducks, I use a 20% flock maker for the first 3 weeks, and then I switch to a flock maintainer that has a 16% protein for the rest of their life thereafter. The flock maker comes with niacin built in already. For my egg layers, I typically do start them on the meat bird 22% feed, but I will switch them probably to the flock maker because I just don't think egg layers need that much protein. We're not trying to grow supersized egg layers. And there is a definite difference between, I don't know if it's just breed or what, but there's a definite difference in the size of Brunhilde, Bridget, and Boudica versus the other chickens. They're starting to molt, which they've not done before. So the sun is shining for the first time in like 4 days. So I'm going to take advantage of this break in the weather to get some outdoor stuff done. We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by Local Color Farm, and we'll see how the flock grows.